Hello, everyone. I am sorry, I'm kind of running a little bit late. Welcome to the live show for the Immortals After Dark. I don't know if anybody's even going to be viewing this, and unfortunately, it's just me today. But as I'm waiting for people to log on, hopefully there'll be a few watching. If not, that's all good because I don't get a ton of views on these Mortals After Dark live shows, and it's a long commitment, so I completely understand. But if you happen to be watching this live, like later, you couldn't make the live, make sure you leave some comments. I love to check those comments after the lives and any questions or feelings you have about these books. So, as I'm waiting, because I don't know if anybody's gonna join, I'm by myself because unfortunately, like the two main people that have been doing this with me couldn't make it. Kim has been really busy with end of school stuff, and then Helen is on vacay. So I'm hoping that the next live, I'm going to have a couple people on because we are getting to Lothair, which I'm very, very excited for. So I'm going to try and plan ahead of time, like a date and everything, and reach out to them so that we can plan that better for this next month. But before I get started into the whole live show here and kind of wrap up and everything of the Immortals After Dark, the last two books that we read, I just kind of want to bring up an announcement. I am going to be posting on my Instagram tomorrow, probably, and then also on my community page on YouTube. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you head over there. I post stuff pretty much every day. I have, arcs and ALCs, so I'm always posting content and then stuff in my, stories and everything. So the link to that is on my channel as always, but that's Amber Reads Romance 28. But for the announcement that I am planning on doing something really exciting for me, I'm going to be having my first author interview. So I'm really excited, but super nervous because I've never done that before. But I am going to be interviewing Victoria Loom. So if you follow my channel, I'm one of her ARC readers. I love her books. And she just had a new release, which was When Hearts Remember. And so we are going to be doing an interview, and that's going to be next Friday on the 13th at the same time. So 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. So hopefully you guys will check that out. I'm very nervous. So on my post, I'm probably going to ask if you guys have any questions that you have for her or want me to ask. She's a newer author. She's only been writing for 2 years, but she's written some amazing books. So if you're not familiar with her, definitely check her out. But anyway, so I'm very excited. It's my first author interview, so very nervous for that. So I don't think I have anybody watching this right now, so this is super awkward. It's a lot better when you have somebody to go back and forth with when you're going to talk about books. So I don't know how long this live is going to be. Honestly, it could be super quick because it's just me, and I don't know if there's going to be that many people watching, but it is what it is. I'm a smaller channel, so what can you expect? So I actually have some notes I might be looking at here. I didn't write as good notes this last time. Well, actually, many of the last times, because I was just really rushing through books last month with my readathons, but I still really loved our two books from this last month. So in this live show, we are going to be discussing sorry, I'm all over the place. Sorry, I'm just looking at my phone. Just ignore me. We're going to be discussing Pleasures of a Dark Prince. And then the next book was Demon from Dark. So sorry, sometimes I forget these titles. I get all mixed up. But I really had a great time with these books. I think Cressley Cole is really like expanding in this universe, and it keeps getting better and better. and the world building is getting more elaborate. You're meeting new characters, and I'm just really loving it. So we're going to start off with the Pleasures of a Dark Prince, and this is Gareth McCreeve's book. So I loved Gareth McCreeve. I think he was my favorite McCreeve so far. I know we'll get more, but I really loved him. He was just such a solid, good guy. Just wanted his mate. And then we have Lucia the Huntress, and she is a Valkyrie. Now, I will say with this, if you've watched the last few live shows, I haven't really loved the Valkyrie stuff a ton. I kind of think they come off as like the badass heroine, and she doesn't recognize her mate, and I was just getting kind of over that. But I really love Lucia. I loved her whole journey. She actually was a badass with a real job. She had a goal. She had a lot on her shoulders because she had to keep back pretty much the apocalypse, and she really had a lot of stress with that. So I honestly don't think anybody is on right now, but I'm going to put up the banner anyways. Basically, I will start out with, what did you rate Pleasure of a Dark Prince? I actually gave this one a 4.5 star rating. I really loved it. It was so fast paced. It was like a complete like Indiana Jones kind of adventure through the Amazon kind of vibes to me. And so I really had a good time with that. I thought it was fantastic. I loved both the characters, and I thought, it was kind of our transition, at least at the end, to get to the stuff in the next book, which is, Torture Island. So a lot of stuff that happens in here is really exciting. So I gave it 4.5 stars. I really loved it. It wasn't a full 5-star for me, but it was so good. Like, it was fantastic. So the other question I have is about like the world building. I think that this one was really fascinating because you learn more about Lucia and Reagan too, because they are like basically like sisters. They're so close. They're best friends. And you find out how Lucia got those powers, where she is basically like the best archer or whatever. Like, she has archery skills that are unmatched from a goddess. So to kind of go into that, I guess, I'm going to bring up my notes here because it was, I believe, so it was like over 1,000 years ago. It was a 12-year-old Reagan that basically helped save Lucia, because Lucia actually got seduced by pretty horrible, evil, disgusting creature. He looked gorgeous. He was, everything, but she completely got seduced by him. She left Valhalla for him to marry him or whatever. And she ends up, with this demonic, horrible, evil guy. And so that's Crom Cruach, and he is our big bad in this. And, she gets assaulted. She goes through a lot. She's basically at death's door, and Reagan takes her to this goddess to basically beg for her to save her. And the goddess does, but she says that she has to, follow her ways. So she has to be chaste, and then she gives her the skills of an archer. So I thought that was really interesting. And the fact that she really had to work her ass off and dedicate her life to constantly kind of going back and making sure that Crom can't get out and can't, bring about the apocalypse. So I thought that was really, really fascinating. So I'm going to put this up to the people that just came on. If you want to chime in, give me your comments. Let me know what you thought of Pleasure of a Dark Prince, what your rating was. If you're just joining, mine was a 4.5. I absolutely love this book, and I loved Gareth and Lucia a lot. Like, I loved their connection. So let me know what you thought. But back to what I was doing. So I'm going to ask here, what were your thoughts on the hero. So my thoughts on Gareth, I was really into him. I think I really liked him more as a Like-A. I like that we were returning to the Like-A. I thought it was really amazing. He's just such a good guy. And he, kind of stepped up when his brother was taken and he knew he was alive somewhere. He didn't want to be like the leader, of the Like-A, but, so he was kind of holding out for his brother and he knew he was out there. And so I just really loved that about him. And I loved like how he was, of course, with Lucia and finding his mate and just falling for her. So, and I love this in the beginning of this because Lucia is like off hunting these creatures. I can't remember what they were called. I don't know if I have that in my notes. But anyways, I think I do. Anyways, it doesn't matter. She was hunting these creatures and she happens to see, Gareth playing rugby against demons. And I just loved that whole scene. I thought it was funny. And what was cool about that was like Lucia's like never really been like attracted to men, especially after the trauma she went through and the fact that she had to be chased. So when she like sees him, she's immediately attracted. And I really liked that. So it wasn't fully her. Like what I loved about this was she was fighting their meeting bond because of her duty and how she needed to be chased so that she could be the best archery and so that she could keep Crom and everything and the apocalypse from happening. So that's what I really liked about that. It wasn't like the stupid Valkyrie, like, oh, I don't want my mate, like the annoying BS that happens in other books. So I loved Gareth. His dedication, how he goes after her and, and the steps, which I'll bring up later, that he took to like not go after her aggressively during, his change or the moon time. The stuff that he did was just so adorable. So I really loved him. I like rated him pretty high. Like he was amazing. I loved him. So that's kind of my thoughts on Gareth. I think he's my favorite McCreeve so far. I know we're going to get more, but I definitely had a good time with him. And I love just like dealing with the Like-A again because they're such primal like beasts, and so they feel things. They go after it a little bit differently. So definitely a great hero. Sorry, guys, it's just me here. So I know this is kind of a lame live show. So just bear with me. Okay, so then I have your thoughts on the heroine. So I really loved Lucia. Again, like I said, I thought she was really strong, independent, smart. She had a lot on her shoulders and she had this job, this super important job that she really worked her ass off for. And she really had to sacrifice a lot. I loved her dedication to Reagan and her family. And so I really loved how strong she was. And she really went toe to toe with Gareth, especially when he is kind of like wanting her to like just give that up and, mate with him and all this kind of stuff. She tells him no, like she fights for it. And so I really thought she was such a strong and like capable heroine. Okay. Anyways, this is so weird. It's just me. I apologize. So I'm going to try and keep this going. It's probably going to be a lot shorter, you guys. It just is. So I got to say the stuff that I really loved about this book was when they were in the Amazon. So to kind of recap, he finds her, they lock eyes after he's playing rugby and he goes after her and he's trying to seduce her to mate her. And she basically tells him, no, I can't do that. And I'll meet you on this day. And does she meet him? No, she doesn't. So he kind of goes after her. And he goes about the Valhalla and this happens to be around the time because this takes place further back in the series, kind of like back with A Hunger Like No Other, and where the Valkyries are getting attacked by demons and he comes in to try and help and everything, but he actually kind of, does his turn, and it kind of scares her, especially after what she dealt with Crom. So, thank you, Jan. Thank you for being here. I literally have nobody watching this right now. But thank you for watching this. I appreciate you. Hopefully people will watch this later on. I don't know. I'm here. I'm doing it. I'm sticking to this read along and we're doing it. Okay. So anyways, oops. Sorry. Moving things around. Okay. Oh, and I need to remove that. Okay. So like he ends up leaving and then they kind of decide that he's a danger. That's like all this stuff. I'm not going to go into everything, but they kind of trap him back with knowing his weakness is Lucia, and they trap him. And it's all the stuff going on like that was to do with hunger like no other. But basically he at the end of all that, I'm really bypassing that because I don't really think it's a lot of the important stuff. And it's already going over stuff that we already read in Hunger Like No Other. So he kind of tells his brothers, hey, I'm going to go find her because she kind of left and she was supposed to come back and she didn't. She left and she had to go get something from his homeland and everything. And she finds out that he knew she was his mate because he tried to play it down after seeing what his brothers and everybody can go through, that she wasn't his mate so that she wouldn't freak out. But she finds out. So she's like, hell no. And then he's like, okay, see you later. I'll be back in 2 weeks. That's all it'll take. And then we have a time jump of a year of him trying to get to Lucia. So he has been chasing her down for a year. She's on her own quest because she's, I think, looking for. So I think when we catch back up with her, let me see here. Okay, so it said she was now attempting to find the Thrimheim hold at the top of a mountain. But of course, good old Nyx calls her and tells her, no, I need you to stop that. You need to get on this boat in the Amazon. And you need to, I think it's get to, what was the place called? The Rio Labyrinto. And it's in the, and I'm butchering that, sorry. But it's in the Amazon. You need to do this. It's to lead to the apocalypse. Is super important. So she sends her there. So she shows up on this boat about to go, and they like take off. And who shows up? Gareth. And he literally, like, I love this scene. Like, you could just see it in your head. He like runs hard and jumps and like lands on the boat. And so now she's stuck on the boat with him. And like they basically think that they're like married. She's on with like other scientists and everything. And you meet these side characters and they have parts to play in the story. I'm not going into that. But like, I just loved it because now she can't get away from him. And she's on this journey and it's really important. And Gareth has been to the Amazon. He's been here before because they were like looking for his brother there at one point, and he knows how dangerous it is. So he's definitely protective of her. And then one of my favorite parts was Nyx actually had scheduled it like for her to board it and had given her the last name McCreeve. So he's like, really? So, Nyx, she's like my favorite character. She's amazing in each of these books. She's playing, she's playing these games. She knows the future. Her quest is a totally different thing. I think they mention in this book about her wanting to be, or it might be the next book, I can't remember which one, about like being a goddess. I don't know if that's what she's leading to or what. I don't know. Like, I love Nyx, but she's kind of pairing these people up. She knows who their mates are. She's kind of like pairing them up, like building an army, because we are going to have the Ascension where it's going to be the battle of all these immortals, because that's what happens every certain amount of time. And so she's preparing for this. So now they're on this boat. And they're on it's like this crazy journey. There's a lot of adventure, crazy stuff going on. But they're also worried because there's this other boat that could be after them. And they do see it. And he kind of goes to disable it. And everybody was like hacked with like a machete and killed. And there was also a rumor that a coffin was on that boat. So immediately I'm like, Lothair, it's got to be. But there's a lot that goes on this adventure, and they go through a lot. Let me try and see where I end up on here. Sorry if you can hear my AC, it's coming on right now. Oh, there was a point where he took her bow and like took it away from her, and he eventually does give it back to her. She promises like vows to the lore, which I think is going to be like an ongoing thing in the future books. Like it's going to be kind of important, vows to the lore, so that she won't like leave him and whatever. So I'm kind of skipping a bunch of this stuff because you're not here for a summary of the book. But okay, so they end up so they kind of have to separate at one point because on the boat they kind of mess around but not fully having penetrative sex so that she could keep her powers. And so they're kind of still able to mess around but not go all the way. And you kind of find out that he had gone to the witches, which if you know the Like, they like hated the witches. Although like Mariquetta getting involved, with them, like they've changed their tune on that. Like, so, but he actually goes, I think it was to Mariquetta. She's a very powerful witch. And he ends up getting like this cuff that he wears so that it will hold him back from fully going like transforming, and going full like so that he wouldn't go after her. And this is what I loved is we find out that in order to stop himself from pursuing her and like meeting her, he had his brothers like beat the shit out of him so that he wouldn't go after her and do that. And so I just loved that. I love that he took it to like that extreme. But when he went to that other ship and all this stuff happens, he loses that cuff. And that's important because of course the moon happens and he's gonna get those urges to mate her. And so she tells him, go in the opposite direction, I'll go this direction. But they're gonna mate. And she kind of gets mad because she's like, now I'm not gonna be able to have my skill. I'm not gonna be able to stop the apocalypse because now I can't have this archery skill. And then something happens and she ended up shooting perfectly. And Nyx was like, oh yeah, like the goddess took your powers away like weeks ago. So good old Nyx, she knew already. But so then they go on this whole thing that has to do with going after Crom. Well, actually, first it's going to the tomb, which ends up being El Dorado. And then it ends up being where it's actually a female. And so when they get there, because they're going after this item there for Nyx. And when they get there, it does say, do not disturb the Gilded One's rest. Do not take any gold from the tomb. Inside the tomb, they realize that there's watchers. There's Wendigo watchers. And then when they go in there, the best part happens. And that is Lothair. So as you can see in each of these books, Lothair has like a really important part to play. And he's got this hidden agenda. And he's doing stuff to make people give him favors in previous books. He's doing shit. And so Lothair is up to something. And he shows up there and he basically rips like the ring off of the La Dorita, I guess is the correct way to say it. And she, this is going to lead to a lot of shit. And he ends up like breaking Lucia's neck and gets out of there. So now Lothair has this ring, and that's going to come into play, obviously, in the next book. So that was a crazy moment, which leads to me, obviously, I think I put this question up all the time. Thoughts on Lothair? I am so intrigued by him. I don't know what he's up to, but this is so important. And then when you read the next book, you see the consequences of this, and it's very interesting. So I am very excited to get to Lothair's book, which is what we're going to be reading now in June. So I'm very excited for that live show because I can't Lothair. So we'll see how that unfolds. So let me just double check here. Okay. So now it's like they need to get to Crom Crook and, you know, stop him because he could get released and all this stuff. And Nyx tells her she needs to go without Gareth. So she kind of, I think she drugged him and like left him, and she goes. And of course he's gonna follow her. He like gets witches to help him and he gets there. But he the thing is that like Crom Cruitt can like kind of come over you, possess you, like turn your mind and like with visions and things like that. And you know, he thinks that like when they go to like kill him and go after him, he makes Lothair, not Lothair, Gareth think that like he kills Lucia. So like he kind of loses it. And there's a thing with the whole, you know, like when they go full beast, like they can't come back. And so she really, but he was actually trying to make him really kill her. But what I found really interesting about it was that he could take over Gareth, but he couldn't fully take over the beast. And the beast knew, you know, his beast like a form knew that that's his mate. So I'm kind of summarizing this really badly, but you know how it is. Let's see here. Let me double check. Oh yeah, because it says his like instinct prevents him from harming her. So when they kill him and everything, he kind of goes, but she goes after him and wants to bring him out of him being in that phase. His brothers have him with them, and they're like, you can't, once he's gone, once we're gone, they're gone. But she basically decides to kind of bang it out and bring him out sexually. And it does kind of work. So he's able to come out of it and come back to her. So, and then what we have is the exciting, oh, hold on. Okay. So, and stuff gets revealed that she was married to Crom, and he's like pissed off about that, but it doesn't really matter because Crom Crook is dead now. But we get to the exciting epilogue because right before the epilogue, she finds out that Regan has been captured. And then we get the epilogue and we see the capture of multiple of our characters throughout this series. And how are these what is happening with these creatures? Where are they going? What's happening to them? It's Torture Island, baby. It's Torture Island. And that's going to lead into the next book, which will be Torture Island. So I thought that epilogue was super intense, super exciting, because you literally see Lothair get taken. And Lothair is like the enemy of old. He's like one of the most powerful. And you can tell he kind of like lets himself get taken because he doesn't want them to like get his ring. And so this ring is super powerful, super important. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but you know, Lothair's got a plan and it's important to him. So that was that book. I really loved their connection. I loved how sweet Gareth was. Lucia was really strong and powerful, and I loved that she fought, like had agency and really fought for her duty and everything, and wasn't just going to be the little woman with the like. So I really loved it. 4.5 stars, excellent, and it was just such a great time. So very happy with that book. So we're going to move right into the next book, which is Demon from the Dark. So, let's see here. Okay. So I'm just going to ask, even though there's like nobody watching, what did you rate Demon from the Dark? I believe I gave this one 4 stars. It kind of probably should have been 4.5, but because I really loved it, but it was a lot darker, and which I liked. So I don't know, maybe I was just being iffy at that time, but I still really loved this. I think it was a really good addition. And we're kind of, that one was like kind of bridging the gap and getting introduced to Torture Island. And now we're here, we're at Torture Island, and it feels like a new phase, which I know it sounds like Marvel or MCU or something, but it felt like we're in different phases of this series. And now we're heading into this one. So with Torture Island, you have basically the Order, which is humans, and they're able with like this technology and different things to capture immortals, and they are taking them to this island where they're testing, messing with them, opening them up, testing things. It's not good. So this is very dark. And I'm trying to remember, I think it's, yeah. So the Order, the main guy we have is Declan Chase. And I think his book is actually the next book. So that's what's interesting about Cressley Cole, is she will kind of make a villain. He's a villain in this book. And then we're going to get to his book next. So I'm very interested to see what she's going to be able to redeem with him and what's going to happen with that character. Because he's one of the humans that's running this, and he hates all these mortals, and they are capturing them and testing on them. So that's where we're kind of at with this. So in this one, we have Malcolm and Caro. So this is really interesting because Malcolm is a V-man. So his backstory was so devastating. So that's what I mean by darker. I mean, this hero's backstory was just so sad. He was, demon or whatever, and his prostitute mom basically sold him as like a blood slave to vampires. And so, it's like off page, but he was basically assaulted and used for blood by the vampires. And then eventually one of these vampires decides to turn him into a V-man. They kind of like force him and his very close friend to do this. And they kind of have them where they have to like kill one of it or the other to get out and be free. And he was totally betrayed by his friend. He was about to drink from him. And that betrayal just devastated him, and he ended up killing his friend. So he felt so much guilt for this. And he, was kind of an outsider, where his realm that he's living in, he's very primitive. He only speaks demon. He's kind of like not wanting to speak, English or, anything because of everything that happened to him. He blocked that all out. And so we have Caro, and she is a witch. She's like the party girl, happy witch. And she's kind of reckless, and she got captured in the previous book. She was in the epilogue, and she actually gets captured and taken to Torture Island. Now, what's interesting is one of her fellow witches ends up dying, and her daughter is there on Torture Island. So she's kind of adopts this daughter, which I thought was a really interesting part of the story, is how Caro was like this party girl, reckless, individual. And then she completely steps up and is all about protecting this adopted daughter. And I really love that part of this heroine. So I guess I'll just go right into this. Thoughts on the heroine. I really liked her. I thought that she was really fun and crazy, but very serious and determined. And I really loved her story with the daughter and then everything that she goes through. So in this, we have Caro. Declan Chase basically tells her, you need to go over to this, whatever, I can't remember. He puts her through a portal, sends her to Malcolm's area where it's very desolate, very really bad place. And he wants her to capture him and bring him back to Torture Island. So she's like, doesn't want to do it, but they're threatening her adopted daughter. So she has to go do this. So she goes, and pretty much instantly Malcolm like scents her and knows that she's his mate. And what I liked about this too was he's part demon, part vampire. So they have different things of matings where it's like the vampire, it's like you get blooded, where your heart starts beating and all that stuff. It's all this, you come alive. And then the demon has like where they have to like bang it out to test out if it's like their mate. So I just love that. But we have a language barrier here, which I always love that in romance. He only speaks demon, and here she is. She can't really communicate with him. So they really have to kind of work together. She's trying to get him to go with her and fall for her, but like she also feels super guilty because as they're going on this adventure and getting to know each other, learning communication, she starts to really fall for him and care about him. And she doesn't want to completely betray him, but she's going to have to for her daughter. So that's kind of the struggle through most of this book. And with this hero, Malcolm, he was such a little sweetie. Even though he's huge, he's badass. You know, he has been betrayed and lives such a horrible lifestyle that when he realizes this betrayal, it's a complete devastation to him. And so that kind of happens. So like in the first part of this, it's like they're, learning to communicate. Now I will say he kind of learns to communicate with her because he drinks her blood. And she doesn't want him to drink her blood at first because then he can get her memories and he would know that she was betraying him. But he does it because he can't control himself during their sexual interactions. And so I think with that, it was kind of coming back to him better with the language. So they were kind of finally able to communicate. So let me see here. All right, let's see. Okay. So with the hero, I really liked him. I rate him really high. I thought he was really sweet and adorable and caring, but also super alpha with her. So I really liked both of these characters. I thought they were really evenly matched. And then when we get to the portal and go to Torture Island and he gets taken, it's a huge betrayal to him. And he actually gets opened up and tested on and tortured, and obviously with it being Torture Island, and she was supposed to be able to kind of be free, but Declan Chase is no, I'm not doing that. So Declan Chase is a son of a bitch in this. So I'm gonna be really interested to see what he ends up being like in the next book, because you also get hints of him and Reagan. And obviously that's the pairing of him. I think he's going to be her mate that from way back where he kept dying and being reincarnated, trying to find her. But now he's the one of the heads of this order that's after Immortals. So how is that going to work? Because he was really torturing Reagan in this. So he had other people torture them under him, but he took the time. And I think he was the only one that was torturing Reagan. So very excited to read that book. So to see what happens with his character. I love it when an author can have a villain and kind of give him a redemption arc or make it work where we end up liking that hero, because, Pam Godwin does this amazingly. She really did that with, her Deliver series with Van. He was so bad in that first book, and Vanquish is one of my favorite books. So let's see here. Kara was so relatable because she's learning to be an adult. She was always such a party girl at first. I thought she'll never handle this guy. He's too damaged. Yeah, I think that's kind of what maybe kind of worked for it, because, and I think it said here when I was trying to look at my notes, so her source of power is happiness, but she can't produce it herself. So I thought, and so she gets empowered by other people's happiness. So it was being with somebody that was so tortured, how is she going to get that power? Obviously, she was blocked up from the power with the order and everything. But I just really loved her character because she really did care about him. And their sex was amazing. I loved it. We got a he's too big situation going on. So, and I thought that it was done well, that, when they're trying to reconcile and everything after they get away. Because here's the big thing that kind of happens after the torturing, and she's held, with her daughter in a different place. It's again going to be another question, thoughts on Lothair, because Lothair is there. And he kind of is in the same room, I believe, with Malcolm. And he kind of knows what's going to happen, because in the last book, he stole that ring from the La Dorita or whatever. I can't remember how you said what her name was, but she is coming. And it was kind of crazy in the audiobook too, because I love the audiobooks. I started listening to audiobooks a few books back, and like now I gotta listen to the audiobook. He does such a good job. But when she's coming, she's got her Wendigos attacking everybody. When she's there, she could like take off the things of I think it said like the evil people or whatever. So it was like, but it went off of Malcolm, which I was like, but he's not evil. He's our sweet cinnamon roll. But she's literally screaming out like ring. And like the way he did that in the audiobook it was kind of cracking me up. So Lothair is like taunting her and like, yeah, come and get me, bitch, kind of thing. And again, it was just another standout scene of Lothair and yet another book. Yet again, why I'm like highly anticipating his book. So I'm so excited to get to that, because when this creature comes for Lothair, it's chaos. Like everybody's able to get out, and it's, it ain't going good for the order. Malcolm is the ultimate cinnamon roll. Loved him. Yeah, I loved Malcolm. He was super sweet. So I really loved that. Let's see here. Oh yeah, it's La Dorada. Okay, that's the name. Okay. Yeah, because there was one question that I saw on like this, like the Reddit one where they have like the club, like book club, and it said Malcolm's torque, which is the thing that like kept them using their power, dropped off because of La Dorada, who seemed intent on only taking off the torques of Pravas, or evil immortals, since she is the queen of golds and evil. Why do you think that happened? Which, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why it happened with Malcolm. Maybe because of his demon, like he was a demon. I don't know. Like, if you guys know, let me know, because I have no idea why that happened. But it was good because they all basically were able to get out. And in the rush to get out, Lucia trying to get out with her daughter, and her daughter gets in like this cave in, and she can't get her out. And she's trying to get help or get stuff, and she runs right into Malcolm, and he's angry. He's like, wants revenge almost, and he wants to kind of go at it with her. And she's just begging him, like, help me. And so she takes him to go. And so then the memories that he had seen, where it was like, it's all about Ruby, which is the girl's name. He thought it was like regular Ruby. And now he realized why she did it. And so I loved how quickly that clicked into place for him, where he realized, why she did everything, and that it was to protect this girl. And so they managed to get out, but there's no way off this island right now. And there's kind of chaos. There's creatures all over the place. There was those Wendigos. And so they end up going to kind of save this like little cabin. And so they have this little time together. And I loved all the moments between Malcolm and Ruby, and like her getting to know him and everything. And so it was just really sweet. I loved like, this whole, ending or whatever. But like, okay, hold on. Let me see here. I don't think I have as detailed notes on this one. I'm sorry, guys. Because like, I was not good at taking the notes, but they managed, it kind of ties up the whole Torture Island, but not, because we're still going to be back at Torture Island on the next book, obviously with Reagan and, her hero, Declan Chase. We'll see. I think we have 2 anti-heroes in this month that we're going to be reading, with it being Declan Chase and Lothair. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting. And I can't wait to get to those. So I don't know. let me see. I don't know if I have anything else to bring up here because I'm kind of just running by myself here. But let me know any additional thoughts you have, any additional things you felt about this book. I did like, you know, the ending with like, because when they are able to get back, you know, it's like the whole thing of like him being accepted when those demons were like attacking them and all that kind of stuff. And now she's bringing home this like demon lover that's like her mate. So, you know, I liked that. So I don't know. I really thought this one was really, really cute. Loved the characters. And they had an amazing connection. It was just heading in a lot darker place. And I appreciate that because we're going to get to more dark and disturbing things with this torture island. So any thoughts, anything you want to say, if you want to throw in your rating, if you're late to this, I appreciate the few people that are watching this. You know, it's just been kind of a mess with this. But I'm sticking with this read along. And I hope you stick with me. If you want to watch this, you know, at a later time, still watch this live show, catch up on these. You know, I'm loving this series. I'm so glad I'm finally reading it. So I'm just happy. Right now, if you guys want to bring up what you're currently reading, I am struggling to read the new Jagger Cole. It already released. I have an arc for it. And I'm going to say I'm probably not going to request arcs for Jagger Cole anymore because I've been frustrated with like a few of his. And I think I'm going to count how many books of his Mafia books recently had CNC in it because it's like the same every fucking book. And then it's so much smut. Like I'm literally just hitting the pages, passing all the sex scenes. It's over the top. So, okay, hold on. Let me see here. Hi, Stephanie is 5 stars for me. I want the movie version. Yes. Wouldn't it be amazing if like they did a show for this or, you know, we did a movie series? Like, oh, it would be so good. I think these 2 books felt like movies too, where like the adventure of like in the Amazon and all that quest and stuff. And then in this one, they just felt very exciting. So much going on. She goes like her world building is just getting so much better and everything connects and is tied together. So it's amazing what she's able to do with this series. So happy I've been reading this. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, you guys. Thanks for joining. Thank you, Jan. Even though you haven't been reading this series, I appreciate you stopping in. I will try to make a plan ahead of time for the next live show because I'm hoping that Jen will be able to join me because Lethair's her favorite. And then What Helen Reads, hopefully we'll be able to join too. So depends on scheduling and trying to match up our schedules, obviously, because Helen is in the UK. So I'm going to try and figure that out ahead of time so it'll be a better show here. And it'll definitely be better than me just talking by myself. So appreciate you guys watching this. Again, if you're watching this later, leave me comments. Let me know how you felt about these books. And I'm just going to wrap it up. We're almost at an hour, not fully, but I think that's enough with me just talking by myself. All right. Thank you guys. And I will be seeing you on the next live.